Sargassum floating crab, brought to you by Whiting Farms. So I wanted to walk you through this one with a little voice help and give you some context behind what I'm doing and make these videos a bit more engaging for you. Drop me a comment and let me know what you think, or even what your favorite crab patterns are. First of all, how gorgeous is this rooster cape? I read recently that you can get a rough idea of feather count based on the thickness of a cape, and I wish you could feel how pillowy this cape was. I've pulled 2 hackle feathers here. What I'm looking for was a hurl length that's going to go from about the middle of the hook shank to the end of the bend, or to almost the eye of the hook, and you'll see why shortly. But I am going to strip off some of the webby feathers at the base of the feather, just so they're not in my way as I'm tying it in. So I'll get these feathers tied in. You'll notice I've started this feather tied in from the base toward the bend of the hook. I'm going to make sure that those fibers are pulled away as I'm wrapping around. I'm going to go till about the center of the shank before I tie this off. And here's my second feather. For this one, I'm going to do sort of a mirror image of the feather that I tied in previously. So I'm tying it in by the butt end, but I'm winding back toward the middle of the shank again. So they're sort of going to meet in the middle. You didn't see it there, but I did do a half hitch tie off there, and I'm going to go ahead and super glue just so that that stays nice and tight. Here I've got the rough outline of a Sargassum crab, carapace, and belly traced out on some 2mm foam. To get the shape of this carapace, I just traced an actual Sargassum crab from my phone screen onto some tracing paper and then transferred it onto the foam. And here, I didn't just, punch those eye sockets in midair. I used a leather pad that I have on my desk, but for demonstrative purposes, I wanted to show you that that punch tool helped me make that scalloped edge to the front of the carapace. Some of my favorite parts of these realistic sort of one-off custom flies is coloring and mimicking some of the patterns that you find in nature. For this purpose, the Copic markers, alcohol-based markers, are amazing, and this is a nice Sharpie paint marker over top to give those white accents, and the little tab on the underbelly. I needed some beefier mono for the eyes for the Sargassum crab. The eyes on these guys sit at a slight angle, and they're a little bit bigger than the eyes that I would normally do on a crab this size. And I wanted to stay true to life, so 80-pound mono it is. Just kidding. But if you're gonna burn mono at home, make sure that you wear a mask. Letting the mono cool on its side so that the melted mono drips downward makes the perfect eye shape for these guys. Here I'm going to add a couple of coats of UV curing gel top coat to the foam carapace. This is going to lock in colors really well, make the fly a little more durable, give it that kind of crabby exoskeleton chitin shine that we want. And, there may be some concerns about rigidity and whether the fly, is more brittle now. And the reality is it maintains quite a bit of flexibility. Again, I've punched just some scalloped edges into that belly tab there. That's where my legs will protrude from here shortly. Just thought it added some realism. And I'm going to attach these eyes now to the bottom of the carapace, so they protrude from the eye sockets that we made earlier. Super glue here does the trick great. Got a finished profile from the front, looking pretty crabby already. This midge hackle is what inspired this fly. When I received it in the mail, opened it up, the first thing I thought of when I saw it was crab legs, specifically Sargassum crab legs. Beautiful variety of colors in this cape, really showcase what whiting does best. I pick one hackle here. I'm looking in the case of a Sargassum crab for sort of a lighter variant of this barred ginger, maybe like a creamsicle color, just to mimic nature as closely as I can. I'm going to attach each leg separately to the foam carapace. So I'm just going to snip about 1.5 inches length from this hackle. The pointy end will be the tip of the leg. And tweezers, with a little pressure from the pointer finger, are going to help put the joint bends in place so that these legs look nice and crabby. When you bend these hackle feathers, obviously naturally the herl is going to flay out, and at those joints, easy way to solve for that is just to snip those extras, just to keep them in line with the rest of the silhouette of the leg. And as we are making a Sargassum floating crab, also known as a Sargassum swimming crab, we need to make little swimming paddles for the back legs. And the way I'm going to do that is simply to loop the hackle around on itself and then glue it in place and trim it. Finally, for the claws of the crab, I'm going to line up 2 pieces of hackle together, tie a knot with the extending points about the length of crab claws. I'm going to trim up that knot, which is essentially the joint of the claw leg for the crab, and then secure them with super glue to the inside of the belly tab. I'm also going to add some ultra thin clear UV resin to the legs, Not a thick coat, a very thin coat, just to give them a little more durability and a slight sheen. And to bring it all together, a sizable glob of gel super glue on the inside of the belly tab, encasing those leg ends also, and inside the carapace top, so that we can pinch down over those rooster hackle feathers, secure in place, and have our crab that floats beautifully, has some organic movement in those legs, and should look real to any fish. If you're looking for a quick rundown of this fly without the voice context, head over to our Instagram channel and you can check out the short form. And a huge thanks to Whiting Farms for sponsoring this week's video. They produce some of the best feathers on the market, and it shows in every fly I tie with them. Head over to whitingfarms.com to see their full selection and browse their newly updated site.